Hello and welcome back to the lessons and tutorials on building out your logical data model. So in this one we're going to extend slightly on what we did in the previous one. So you can see this is the sort of conceptual and then slight expansion into logical data model that we took. We're going to use this as the basis and build on it. Now I would like to point out we did kind of mix up the way we were looking at things here, where we're starting to think about the concept of columns within our tables. And here we were looking at what a table might look like in reality in terms of the rows. But going forward, we're just going to think purely in the way that we've done this in this kind of layout here. So as I mentioned, I'm using a tool called draw.io. You can see we've got a blank canvas up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start creating, let's just get that out the way there if we can. We're going to start creating the, let's just move that all the way to the right, these tables. So I'm going to drag and drop a table onto the canvas. Try that again. And let's give this a name. Let's start with customer. And you can see it's already helped me out here with the primary key. Remember our primary key and indexes. And I'm going to call this customer ID. So remember, this is a unique identifier. Normally something that auto increments as you add customer records. And I am then going to start calling this something like customer name, date of birth, and let's just say address. Now you will find in the real world that customers, and you will have seen on Amazon, have multiple shipping addresses. Again, how you would do this would be to split those tables. You'd have a customer table and a customer address table. But for the purposes of this exercise, we're going to keep it simple. So that is our customer table. Of course, you could extend this with all the attributes. You might want to have gender. You might want to have some form of customer preferences or an email opt-in, all of those sorts of things. But we've done the customer one in the basic form. So let's just switch over and see what we're going to do next. Let's do our product one as we've done here. So we'll drag that onto here. We're going to call that one product. We've got a primary key called product ID. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to give it a category. We're going to call this category ID to say what category or which category the product belongs to. Then we're going to say product name, product description, and so on. So you could add this out and go product color, all of those sorts of things. Let's then create our entity table, our category table. And we're going to call this category ID, of course. Bad typing. Category ID, and then category name, category description, and you might want to add some other attributes such as perhaps the season, is it a category for winter, autumn, spring, that sort of thing. Now we're going to tell our schema here that there is a relationship between category and product. So if you remember, we had this for this relationship over here. I'm going to look for my crow's feet here. You can see it's telling me one too many. So I'm going to say we're going to link this primary key here to this field over there. So now we're telling it, as you can see, one category can have many products. One product can only belong to one category. Right, so let's go and build our order one now. And this is going to be our order header and our order detail. Okay, so we've got order ID, and this is going to be detail ID. In fact, order ID. Let's lay it out like this actually. Now order header, so we've got our order ID, which may be an internal number. Let's just call this order number. And this is going to be order date. In fact, my apologies, let's make this customer ID, order date, and delivery address. Then we're going to, in our order detail, have order line ID, product ID, and quantity. Okay, we would also begin to start adding our cost or our price unit cost. Add in another one here that says line total, for example. Okay, now the important thing to remember is that because we're going to have multiple lines for this order, our primary key is not only going to be ID, but it's going to be a combination of these two fields over here. So that's just something to bear in mind. So let's go and model this. Let's add our relationship. So we're going to have our one order ID here is going to link to that. And our customer remember, one customer can have multiple orders. So we're going to link to that. So one customer can have multiple orders. One order can have multiple lines. And then, of course, we're going to create a link from our product table. So product ID. So one product can exist in multiple orders. There we go. And essentially what we've done now is we've created a logical model for our database. And this is the level at which we're going to implement this in a tool such as Bubble or Airtable or Glide, or whichever you might choose. I think just to point out here that some of the concepts we spoke about, like business logic, we're starting to think about. So when you add a product, because you're going to have your product table pre-populated, You'll say I want to order product 1, and you say I want 2 of those. It's going to pull in, apologies, that should be unit cost. It's going to pull in the unit cost from this table. We obviously don't have it in there, but we could easily add it in there and say, unit cost. It would go in there, and then your business logic would work out the quantity times the unit cost and give you a line total. Now, when you add up these line totals, it depends on how you want to model. Some applications I've seen will have another table called order footer, which then contains the sum of all of the quantities and the costs and the tax. But you could also put that in the order header as well. It's just how you prefer to model it. But there we have it. So we've gone from our very, very rough conceptual model down to a kind of intermediate level and down to our logical model. Now, obviously, what I'd encourage you to do is fully think about all of the fields you want in your product table, your category table, your customer table, and essentially model them out at this level. Draw up a diagram like this, and then you're ready to start implementing. So in the next videos, we're going to take a look at how we do that in Bubble and in how we do that in Airtable. So see you in the next videos.